read the passage that we're going to be concentrating our attention on. And it starts with a very interesting interjection by James, because in the beginning verses he's talking about himself being a servant of God, and he's talking about somebody who is enduring in trials, and then talking about double-minded person, and then all of a sudden this tremendous switch from my personal perspective to a brother of humble circumstances. Let's read this verse again, verse 9. Now let the brother of humble circumstances boast in his high position, but the rich person in his humiliation, because he will pass away like the flower of the grass. Now this is very countercultural even in our today's society, and I don't think you'll be asking why. Now let's say I drive up to the church building in my beat up Honda Civic from 1989, which has like 5 different colors on it and shades of the colors, and I walk in the ripped jeans and the hole in my t-shirt, and I walk into this church. Now, a lot of you won't notice because, I mean, we're in Browns Mills, but let's say I'm going to the FAC in Medford, where people are rich and they have lots of money. I doubt they'll be rolling the red carpet in front of me and saying, "Welcome, brother. Take the seat of the most honored position in the church, because you have to boast in your humble position." I seriously doubt that, you know? And the same thing in that day and age, the people were honoring the rich, and they were shaming the poor. Oh, you must be drinking all your money away, or smoking them away, or spending it on trains, or on tools, or something else. You're mismanaging your money, that's why you're poor. Or maybe God is not blessing you, that's why you're poor. How come you can't afford a more expensive car? Something's wrong with your priorities. That's how usually people approach you when they see that you're in need or in humble circumstances. You know, first of all, they try to blame you. And then if they see some legitimate reason for your humble circumstances, they're not necessarily telling you, "Oh, this guy's going to be my best friend because I should everybody will be proud of me being his best friend." No. You know, a lot of people try to be friends with the famous people, with successful people. They want to show off their pictures with them hugging them and saying, "Hi, I'm next to, you know, Donald Trump or somebody else who's famous, you know, hugging me or you know, being in the same photo session as me." But James is saying something countercultural, and in our context, it means very interesting thing, or it means completely different from what the society understood about it. Let the brother in humble circumstances boast in his high position, but the rich person in his humiliation. Why? In the context of this passage, we know you have to endure in your trials, in your tests, because it proves your faith. It will show you as approved before God. The brother who is in humble circumstances, or us who live in Browns Mills and have little means of financial existence, we always rely on who? On God. We're always in prayer. "Please, Lord, I need this money to pay my mortgage," or "Please, Lord, heal my disease," or "Please, Lord, if I cannot work, I cannot make money, I cannot pay for these things, you know, what am I going to feed my kids, or how am I going to live?" So in a way, a person who is always in need, he relies entirely on God, because he cannot put his trust in his or her possessions. Well, James is making a contrast here with the rich, and it doesn't say that it's a rich brother, it's a rich person. So it could be any rich person. If you ask any millionaire or billionaire today, "Are you rich?" they'll laugh at you and say, "No, Bill Gates may be rich, this guy may be rich, but I only have like $33 million, you know?" You know, if I only have $1 more million, maybe I'll be rich. But guess what? It's not true. Rich will never consider themselves rich, because pursuit of money is fooling people. It's deceiving people. It's making them trust in their 401k or their stocks, exchanges, and so on and so forth. And they think, okay, if I'll have this money, I can pay for my retirement. I can have the best medical insurance. I can have this. I can have that. And this pursuit of happiness that is written even in our Constitution is fooling our minds, because it's not the happiness that is guaranteed. It's the pursuit of it. Chasing after something. Chasing after something is encouraged by the Constitution of the United States. But it doesn't guarantee that you will actually reach that goal and touch that which you're chasing after. Therefore, James is saying, if you are in pursuit of riches and material possessions, guess what? He will pass away like the flower of the grass. For the sun rises with its burning heat and dries up the grass, and its flower falls off, and the beauty of its appearance is lost. So also the rich person in his pursuits will wither away. So what will happen to him? First of all, we'll see that this is the direct contrast between the poor and the rich, but it also contrasts with the servant of God and the rich person. Because if you're a servant of God, who does your loyalty belong to? God. Who do you trust? God. Rich person, who does he trust? Money or possessions. This imagery is actually taken out from prophet Isaiah chapter 40 verses 6 through 7. Let me read this. All humankind are grass, and all his loyalty is like the flowers of the field. Grass withers, the flower withers when the breath of Yahweh blows on it. Surely the people are grass. Notice this word, and all his loyalty is like the flowers of the field. It withers. It's very temporary. He cannot be loyal to God or to friends or to anybody as long as this loyalty is not attached to his possessions or protecting his possessions. So if you are one of the business partners and you're increasing his financial gains, you are in the circle of loyalty and trust. If you're not in that position, you're out. Same thing with God. If God, in the mind of a rich person, is blessing him with material possessions, he trusts God. As soon as something happens in his life, something drastic, oh, God, why did you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? So his trust disappears. Because his loyalty is somewhere else. Now, so loyalty, apparently, is the main issue in the contrast of the poor brother and the rich person. Because the rich one trusts in his money and material possessions, but the poor person remains loyal to the Lord since he depends on him daily. Look at the powers that work against the rich. The sun, the scorching wind, the withering, the falling off of the flower, being destroyed. But also you can name other things that Jesus says, or Paul says, thieves who are digging and trying to steal. Robbers and all of different world influences and circumstances that can make you poor in one day after you've been rich. And becoming poor after you've been rich is even worse than not ever feeling that you're financially independent or well-to-do. Because a poor person, when he is poor all his life, he gets used to that. But when you all of a sudden become richer or have some money, and then all of a sudden that money disappears, it's a tremendous loss. Some people commit suicides when the stock exchange drops by certain numbers. Like during the Depression area, how many people committed suicide because all their trust was in their money, and when they lost all of it, they didn't feel the need to live anymore. The same thing happens today. But blessed is verse 12, blessed is the person who endures testing, because when he is approved, he will receive the crown of life, and that he has promised to those who love him. James is giving us a little bit of a glimpse. he calls the person who endures testing blessed. Why is this person blessed? Let's look at it. In this context, the blessing or blessedness describes an attitude of determined courage that is unaffected by the external circumstances. Doesn't matter whether you have money or have no money. Doesn't matter if you have a good job or don't have a job. Doesn't matter if you have a house or you lost a house. You always trust in God, and that makes you blessed. But look also at the other aspects. Why is he blessed? Because he is enduring testing from the text. He is approved by God. He will also receive the crown of life, which is a future blessing. But also in the very last part of this verse, he promised to those who love him. That means for those who love the Lord or love God. So in a way, this man who is enduring testing is doing all of these things because of what? Because he's afraid of God's punishment for sin? Because of what? Because he loves God. So if we love God, we can endure in trials. We can be approved by God, and we will receive the crown of life. So love here is a central point of this person being blessed, because he is able to do all these things only if he loves God. If he loves something else, if he is double-minded, if he loves pursuit of the material possessions and God, then what does James say in verse 8? He is unstable in all of his ways, double-minded person, and so on and so forth. But then James makes a little shift and is trying to correct some false opinions about the source of the trials, or source of the temptations, or source of our unpleasant experiences in life. He says in verse 13, no one who is being tempted should say, I am being tempted by God. Or for that sake, I'm being tempted by Satan. Or anything else. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. Let's find a proof to that statement from the other passage of the Bible. Let's look at the passage in the book of Job. If you agree, Job suffered probably the most out of the people of characters in the Bible. Job 1, 6 through 12. Let's read this story. And it happened one day that the sons of God came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan also came into their midst. So Yahweh said to Satan, from where have you come? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, from roaming on the earth and from walking about on it. So Yahweh said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Indeed, there is no one like him on the earth, a blameless man, and upright, and God-fearing, and turning away from evil. Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a fence around him and his household, and around all that belongs to him, on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his livestock has increased in the land. But on the other hand, stretch out your hand and touch all that belongs to him, and see whether he will curse you in your face. So Yahweh said to Satan, look, all that belongs to him is in your power. Only do not stretch out your hand against him. So Satan went out from Yahweh's presence. Who in this passage is the source of the trial or temptation of Job?